What's up, guys and gals? My name is Joy, and this is my God of War review. Oh God, I hope you're all ready for this shit, because this game's gonna get destroyed. Uh, Obviously, I will praise the good stuff I like about the game, but we're gonna obviously start with the negatives, get them out of the way, and then go straight to the positives. Um, so God of War tells the story once again of Kratos, son of Sparta, who um, has been in other God of War games. God of War 1, God of War 2, and God of War 3. Kratos, if you haven't played the other games and you're new to the series of God of War, Kratos, son of Sparta, uh, loses faith in Olympus. He's also a warrior of Sparta. He leads an army and encounters an enemy that has a larger force. Ends up almost being defeated before he asks Ares, the god of war, for to save him from complete annihilation. And he then has to serve Ares in exchange for his life or whatever. So he offers his life to Ares in exchange to save him from the perils of war. And then Ares ends up betraying him, and then we have our setting, the god of war, meaning, he goes off and kills ancient deities. So the first three games take place in the Greek pantheon type of god setting. So like Zeus, Hera, or was it Hera? Is it Hera? Yeah, I think so. I think it's Hera. Zeus's wife, Athena, Ares, uh, shit, what's the, I can't think of the other guy. Hades, the Greek, Poseidon, all them. And then obviously, the guy that, like, is really fast. Hermes, thank you. I'm trying to remember Greek mythology because it's been so long since I've actually had the chance to give a shit about it. So, that's our story, right? So he goes on his quest after being betrayed by Ares to not only defeat Ares, the idea at first is to just defeat Ares, and then he finds out that the other gods are basically the fucking same as Ares. They like to backstab and betray you and lie to your face, and so he goes after them as well. Eventually, bringing down certain. I'm not going to ruin the whole game, but he goes into the conclusion after 3, ends up showing some things obviously in God of War 4, and there are some scenes where those things happen in God of War 4, but they still don't answer the remaining issue with God of War 4. They don't answer the problems. And then obviously in God of War 4 you have your son, who is another known character and an entity in his own right. He is I'm not gonna ruin that either, but he's a special character in his own right for ending purposes. And there's your story. So God of War 4. What do I like and hate about it? So let's go into negatives first. So obviously the negatives is, like every God of War game, once you beat the story, there's not really fuck all to do in it anymore. It's done, it's over with, it's boring. I mean, you replay the game maybe for the cutscenes and the epic cutscenes, but I think after like the third time of that, you'll probably be bored. There's no content in God of War games that's gonna make you come back. There's not like raids and shit like that, it's not Destiny. But there's no replayability. Like, there are good single player games that have replayability, and then there are just bad ones that don't, right? And there's no middle ground there. When I say bad ones, I'm talking like once you beat it, you don't feel the drive to play it again. That's the case with God of War 4. I beat the game in a day. Obviously, I've given proof to fanboys about that, but I beaten the game in a day, and I'm bored with it. I mean, I didn't buy it, so it's okay, but there's nothing to do after the story. You have collectible shit like you do in Assassin's Creed, like the original Assassin's Creed. You had to collect like those fucking scrolls, or even in the Ezio game, you had to collect like those pigeons or whatever. It's kind of the same thing. There's collectibles in God of War. In this case, they're like these rifts you have to gather, and you can gather all of the wyverns from fucking Odin's ravens and kill them all. There's like 50 wyverns you can kill, the spies of Odin or whatever. The point being is there's nothing here that other games haven't already done a million times. This is 2018, by the way. I want you to keep that in mind. And games have been doing this, collectible bullshit since the early 2000s. This is not innovative or new. This is just lazy. So after the story, again, some questions get answered, kind of, but again, they don't, and so they'll be in God of War 5. So what do I mean by that? Well, at the end of the game, there are a few spoilers in the ending, and you can watch this on YouTube if you don't care to buy the game, which I'll talk about that in a second. But there are spoilers at the end of the game that are pertaining to God of War 5. So obviously the bosses in God of War 4, they're also not very good. You know, aside from collectibles, the encounters, the fights, I think there's maybe 3 gods you fight. 2 of them are in the same fight. They're like twin brothers, and they're sons of a special character in the Marvel universe. And you fight them and their hammers and all that crap. And then once you kill them, you move on to fighting the guy who starts Ragnarok, who I did watch some Norse mythology history behind it, and the character, the stranger you fight, is known as Balder or whatever. And if you look up Norse mythology explained, it tells you that actually if he dies, Ragnarok does happen. So that part is true. And obviously he's the other god that you fight. The problem is, all 3 of those fights, though, don't really seem difficult. They're not challenging or hard. They're just like, it's just bullshit mechanics, really. Like, that's what this whole game's about. Like, if you play on higher difficulties, it's just bullshit mechanics. That's all you're dying to. It's just bullshit sometimes. Nothing else. There's no skill involved in any of that stuff. Like, basically, like, if an enemy hits you on a harder difficulty, he's going to do more damage. That's just, you know, that's a bullshit maneuver. You can't really do anything about that at the beginning of the game unless you have amazing gear. Like that's, or you're skilled and you can obviously overcome that. There's also no trophy for even playing on harder difficulties, which I really hate why games are doing this now. It fucking sucks. I want a trophy or an achievement to say, hey, look, I beat this game on the hardest difficulty, and they just don't have that. So this game doesn't have that. So there's no reason to play it on a harder difficulty at all. And then we have, you know, the three god bosses in the game that again are very, very, only one of them seems really important, and that's obviously Balder or whatever his name is. He's the only one that I give a shit about because of his purpose. So once he dies, again in real Norse mythology, Ragnarok will happen. Then you've got, you know, some other gods in there, but you don't really fight them. They just get angry at you and talk a bunch of times. But there's no epic fights here. You're fighting mostly trolls. You're fighting, you know, reskin trolls too. You fight like a red one, a blue one, a green one. You know, all, you know, red one's fire, blue one's ice, green one's poison. It's the same fucking troll though. It's the same thing. It just doesn't feel like God of War. It feels like the game should have been called, again, my son needs a better dad than me, or just call it Atreus. The boy's name is Atreus. That's not his real name, but again, that for spoiler purposes, I won't tell you. Again, watch it on YouTube if you want to know, but he's a brother of somebody in Marvel Universe who's very clever. Let's just put it that way. Black hair, long black hair, wears a lot of green. Okay. Anyways, Atreus. The game should just be called Atreus. It shouldn't even be called God of War. I don't even know why Kratos is here, because all of Kratos' cutscenes with like the Greek pantheon, there are a few of them in there again, but they're not. They don't answer anything from the, you know, the ending of God of War 3 for Kratos. They don't answer a lot. They answer a few minor things, but they still leave you wondering with questions. Like it's like a cock tease. It's like if a woman took off her top, you know, her shirt, but left her bra and panties on, and then she slowly went to take off her bra, but then put it back on. She's like cock teasing you, right? That's basically what this whole game is. It's a giant cock tease to what God of War 5 can be. Nothing more. The combat, a lot of people hate the combat. I think the combat's okay. I like the upgrade in armor system, but again, I feel like just like with Assassin's Creed Origins, God of War played it too safe to the chest when it tried to transition from a hack and slash game to an RPG. So AC Origins suffered this as well, where their loot system was so fucking warped that it made no sense because you could start with a yellow weapon in AC Origins from the onset. God of War isn't like that. You actually have to go earn your armor. The problem is, there's no fucking weapons. So not only, you'll get new armor, yes, but there's no weapons to earn here. There's no new weapons. You get one other weapon from past games, which I'm not going to mention. Obviously, if you play the other games, you know what I'm talking about. It's the one that you get from the God of War before he's replaced by the other God of War, known as Kratos. You get those weapons that brand your arms, and they come later on. You get them later on, about midway through the game. So you don't really get to enjoy them for much of the storyline after you get them. But once you get them, you get them. That's it. So you get the axe and those weapons. There's nothing else. At least in God of War 3, and I hate to mention this because I'm going to mention it anyways because it's a complaint I have. God of War 3, you got plenty of weapons. You got like weapon, you got the same dagger-like weapons from Hades, except they were like, cursed versions of those, which were really cool. You got you got like shields and all kinds of unique items in God of War 3 in terms of godlike weapons. You got Hermes' boots in God of War 3, which I thought was really cool, which help you run on certain pathways and stuff after you've defeated Hermes and shit like that. You got a Medusa head that you could use for puzzle solving. It was just, or even encounters that would, stun people and put them in stone. And it just felt like the other God of War games had more variety in terms of weapon design, right? Like they just felt better. There are costumes in the other games. There's no armor, but it just felt like there were more weapons. And I kind of wish this game had more than 2 weapons to it. I really do. It does have a shield as well, which acts as a weapon. Like, you just smash people with the shield. But if it's not your axe or your fucking, dagger blades that you get in the first game, it's your fucking shield. And that's it. There's nothing else. There's no bow. You don't get a bow like your son. You don't get fucking nothing, man. There's no other weapons here. And that's really disappointing. And some people might say, well, Joy, this is a reboot. No, it's not, because it has too many Kratos tie-ins from the 3rd game, so it's not a reboot at all. So yeah, so if you want to pick up God of War 4, so let's talk about what I like. I did like the combat. I do like the Norse setting of the game. I think the Norse setting for the game is amazing. I still kind of miss the Greek one because I'm huge on Greek mythology, and I do want to see what the hell happened, and I kind of wish, this is my ultimate goal for God of War, I wish Kratos just died at the end of God of War 3. I just wish he was dead. So that way, if you wanted to introduce Atreus, you could just call the game Atreus, the God of War, or something like that. And we could start over with a new antagonist known as his son and learn from his story as he grows up. And I think that would have been a much better take on God of War. I think Kratos' time should have been done in the 3rd game, and it should have just started over with a new antagonist. But whatever, they didn't want to do that, fine. But they need to finish off Kratos' story in a way that's fitting to fans, or they're going to piss off a lot of fucking people. And I felt like God of War 3 was that time to end off the storyline for Kratos, and then they make another game of Kratos just to call it God of War, because they want to make money. That's the only reason. Just like God of War Ascension was there to make fucking money. So, I do like the combat. I like the environment of the game. I wish there was more exploration in terms. There's an example. There's 2 areas in the game that you cannot access, from what I understand. And according to Santa Monica Studios, there's no DLC for this game. Then why the fuck are those 2 areas on the map to begin with? Why are they even on the portal room? So if you don't know Norse mythology and you know the power of Thor and Odin, son, and Loki and all them, you'll know that the Bifrost in the movies, the thing that transports them to Jotunheim, right? That's in this game, by the way. It is here. But you can't travel to 2 locations in the game. They actually show up in the game too, which is really odd, you might think. One of them is known as Asgard. Can't go to Asgard. It shows up in the map room where you fast travel to, but you can't go to Asgard for some reason. And the other one is another area that you can't go to. But it blows my mind because you can't go to these locations. You can't travel there. Like, they're in the game. They show up on the map in the game, but you can't go to them. There's no way to get to them, from what I understand. Which blows my mind, because why are they there then? If there's going to be, some people say there's going to be no DLC, other people think there is. I don't want them to put Asgard in DLC. I feel like it would be too short to really get the experience I want from it. I do want DLC, and I do want Asgard, obviously, in DLC. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying, if you put important characters in the DLC, and because the DLC is like $15, and it's not going to be, unless it's very, long DLC, it's not going to turn out well in terms of telling the story. And so I feel like it will be rushed. And I hope to God that's not the case if they do DLC for this game. So obviously, I like the combat. I like the progression system. I think it's nice, but it could be way better in terms of the weapons. The weapon variety is severely lacking. I enjoyed the story. It starts off really slow, but it picks up way more by the end of the game, and I'm really upset that it's only like 30 hours total because, you pay $60, the game should be $60 or sorry, 60 hours at least in terms of story content, and that's not the case here. Hell, even if you paid 80, it's not worth 80. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys right now, the game is not worth full price. It should be a $30 game. Okay, just that's what I think. 35 is pushing it. I still think it should be 30. Anyways, so I like the combat, I like the scenery, the Norse mythology. I wish there were more boss fights and not a bunch of reskins. I like the armor system in the combat a little bit. They could be improved upon. But I do enjoy the combat for what it is and the different takes they've had. I feel like the axe, especially when you upgrade it more, it's really badass. Same for the daggers and the armor progression system. I feel like those are great. However, again, the story as well. However, when you combine all those things, that should be what you expect from a story game, right? You should expect a lot of weapon variety, a good story that's worth the 60 pounds or dollars that you're paying for it. I say $1 an hour. That's definitely what it should be, and it's not in this case. Enjoyable boss fights that are all uniquely fun and exciting. None of the boss fights in this game even rival close to Monster Hunter. I'm gonna just throw that out there now. Monster Hunter World, which by the way to me isn't really a Monster Hunter game either. I still like it, but it's not as good as like Double Cross to me. Double Cross has its benefits that World does not. But even Monster Hunter World blows this game in terms of enemy variety out of the water. This game doesn't even come close. And then you have just the lack of side content. The side content is what we see in every other game. Go here, collect this. Go here, gather this. Do this for me, fetch quest. Do this for me, fetch quest. You see this in every other game. Is this game 10 out of 10? No. To me, God of War, for the PS4, my final rating for it, and my overall, obviously, predictions of this game, and after playing it, are going to be a 5 out of 10. I feel like this game was really overhyped, and I feel like the reviewers were, I'm not going to say they were paid off, but something fishy doesn't add up, because this game is not 10 out of 10. This game is definitely a 5 out of 10. It's a good story game. It's got like a Last of Us, Horizon Zero Dawn type of storytelling, sure, but that doesn't make a good game, right? Because once you beat the story, you need to keep the player engaged with things to do. And if you don't have enough of those things to do after the story, the player will move on and will start shunning your game and hating the game even more, because then they realize, shit, I just bought a $60 cup holder. And that's what God of War is. It is not worth $60, $80 for deluxe. I would say get this game for $30 if you could. I think that is a fair price. 30 hours of story for $30. I think that's fine. Even 35, maybe. But anything higher than that, and you're just shooting yourself in the foot, to be honest. I think if you want a good God of War storyline, I think you should start with the very first God of War and play all the way up till 3. And then maybe get 4 once again it drops down to 30. I think that's what you should do if you've never played a God of War before. Graphically, obviously, the game looks good, but again, graphics don't make a game, man. I'm sorry to say that. I've played a lot of games in my day. I've played games that look like shit. Like, what's that one game that's coming to Xbox backwards right now? Was it Battlefront 2? The old Battlefront 2 is coming to backwards compatibility. I might pick that up. Because while that game looks like shit, it's aged poorly, it was a fun game. There was a lot of content in the gameplay there for the gamer. And I feel like that's what a game should be. I don't mind if the game looks good. And there was a time where developers would make games that looked good and had, good gameplay and had lots of things for the gamer to do. That's not the case anymore. They're either going to focus on the graphics and fuck all around with the gameplay, meaning they could give 2 fucks about the gameplay, or they're going to make the gameplay good and say fuck the graphics. They don't do both. Or, hell, even games back in the day would always have a single player and a good multiplayer and a good story. You don't get that either. And good graphics. They'd have all 4 of those back in the day. Nowadays, you don't get that with games. And then, obviously, now that you don't get that, you get people over here saying, Game of the Year, it's 10 out of 10, Game of the Generation. No, stop it. Once you see that IGN 10 out of 10, it's like seeing TMZ on fucking celebrity news. Don't believe it. It's not 10 out of 10, it's 5 out of 10. There are a lot of reskins here. in enemy design in terms of bosses. The main bosses, the big bad bosses that you fought in the old God of War games, none of those exist. Hell, the first God of War had a fucking Hydra the moment you spawned in that you had to fight, like a giant snake sea serpent thing. It was fucking epic. This game doesn't have that, okay? This game has none of that. There is none of that. You fight, again, a red troll, a blue troll, purple troll, maybe a boss encounter from the storyline, and then you go back to fighting trolls again. It's not a 10 out of 10 game. It does a lot of things that would warrant... Honestly, at this point, I would rather them just come out and say, look, we're keeping the real God of War in the oven because this one's not God of War. Like, at all. I feel like in God of War 5, they could have told everything in this game just in God of War 5. I don't feel this game is worth 60. I think it's 30. 5 out of 10 for me. That's my review. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I did enjoy, again, the combat and, you know, the story for what it was, but it's a fucking cup holster now, man. There's nothing to do in this game once you beat the storyline. And that's the problem with The Last of Us and Horizon. Oh, well, take that back. Last of Us had multiplayer. Horizon Zero Dawn, once I beat that game, I never touched it again. Why? Because there was nothing to do in it. Same for God of War. Once I beat it, which I already have, I'm probably going to, you know, go collect a few other things in the game, and then I'm never going to touch it. Ever. Again. It's done for me. Never touching it again. Because there's nothing to do. I've got all the weapons. There's only 2 weapons in the game. Got them both. What else is there? Got all the badass armor I need. There's no point to having it, though, because there's no boss fights worth mentioning that actually you need that armor for. And what else is there? Shit, Joy. You know, there's nothing else. Yes, the badass armor you get is from the Valkyrie fights. By the way, the Queen Valkyrie is the hardest fight in the game. Yes, I said that. The hardest fight in this new God of War isn't even a god creature, okay? It's a fucking Queen Valkyrie, which is up on my channel right now. That is the hardest fight in the game. That's it. There's no other boss that comes even remotely close to that motherfucker, okay? And once you kill her, then you realize the point of gear and the achievement of gear and the progression system goes like this. It basically does what a plane on fire does. It goes, it blows up and it falls on its face. It's just bad. So, $30 game, God of War PS4, 5 out of 10. That's my review. I am interested to see what they do for God of War 5 after, again, some of the spoilers in 4. But again, you don't need to buy the game to see those. I saw all of the spoilers for this game before I had my fiance go pick me up this game, because I wanted to see if it really was 10 out of 10, and to me it's not. It is a 5 out of 10 game at the most, and worth $30. Yep. And like I said, if you want to see anything relatively interesting to this storyline, just go on YouTube and watch it. You know, if you are on the fence about buying this game and you don't want to put in the money for this game, but you want to see the story of Kratos and all the spoilers, just go watch it on YouTube. It's up there. It's a single player game. You can watch all the cutscenes on YouTube, and no harm, no foul. You don't waste no money. But 5 out of 10 for me. Definitely could have been a lot better than what we got, I feel like, for God of War. And that's a shame. That's a shame. Because obviously, if we, go back here real quick. Shit. Hang on. Oh, damn it. Well, that sucks. No. Alright, well, looks like the internet just died. Hang on, let me see if I can get it back up. Come on. You heading out? Yeah. Alright, bro. Alright, bro. See you, mate. Have a good one. Good? Yeah, I'm just doing my review. So obviously, as you guys can see here, I have played the other 3 God of War games, and I'm telling you right now, these games, to me, were just better. They just felt better. The story was more immersive. The enemies or the bosses you fought were more, had more variety. And I just feel like the new God of War doesn't have that. And so that's why I gave it a 5 out of 10. That doesn't mean I hate the game. And I am excited for God of War 5 if that ever gets announced. And I hope DLC for this God of War gets announced because, good God, this game needs it. But keep in mind, the game just came out like 2 days ago. And I'm already asking for DLC. That should tell you right then and there that this game is short as fucking hell, man. This game is not worth $60. Like, it just came out and I'm already asking for more. Like, that's how bad it is. Compared to Monster Hunter World, I got like 500 hours in that game. This game, I barely have like any sense of playing this on like a long term scale. Um, and like I said, I feel like God of War fans got gypped. I feel like they got ripped off. But then again, the fanboys kind of also did that to themselves, right? Because the fanboys before the game came out were like, "Oh, it's game of the generation. You got 10 out of 10 by IGN. It's amazing. It's awesome. It's foaming from the mouth." Right? That's what they were doing. The game is not 10 out of 10, guys. It really isn't. So, 5 out of 10, $30 purchase at the most. And if there's DLC announced for it, and I play the DLC and I think it's worth your time, maybe I'll cover that. But right now, there's no season pass for the game, so I hope the DLC is free, because right now it should be. It really feels like the DLC should be free. I don't feel the DLC should cost anybody a dime with the lack of playtime this game gave us. I really don't, and the overhyped crap. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think God of War's 10 out of 10? I'd love to know your answer, because I sure as hell don't. I've played games that play exactly like God of War and do it better. So I don't think God of War is 10 out of 10. I feel like this game did not give us enough of what we should expect from a AAA $60 title at all. I feel like this game ripped us all off. That's what I feel like. So, with that said, guys, mine's been Joy. Have a good one. The next game I will be reviewing will be Ace Combat 7. That's a game I will be buying. I didn't want to support this game. Once I saw all the 10 out of 10s, I knew somebody was bullshitting with this game. That's why I had my fiance pick it up. And I'm glad I did, because now, obviously, the review is out there. But Ace Combat 7 will be the next game I review. And, God, I hope it's good, Bandai Namco, because if it's not, I'm going to shit on that one too. Don't make me shit on it. So, those are my thoughts, guys. Well, again, let me know in the comments what you thought of it. Did you enjoy the game? Did you hate the game? Whatever. And catch you all next time. Take care.